You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode number 67 of the Last Breath Huntcast, the home of the Huntroversy. If this is your first listen to our Huntcast, you heard the word Huntroversy in the intro. The Huntroversy is a thing that we do from time to time. I would say at least one out of every 3 podcasts we have is a Huntroversy, and it is when we debate a hotly debatable item in hunting in the hunting community. Tonight we have a really good one, and it's been requested by 3 different people. 3 different of our close friends, somebody that I work with, somebody that is in our Last Breath Inner Circle, which is our Facebook group, and somebody that has become friends of mine over the course of the last year. This is a reminder that if you guys would like to listen to our Huntcast, there's a new episode every Monday on iTunes, Libsyn, and Spotify. You can watch the video version on Tuesdays on YouTube. And before we get rocking and rolling in this, just want to remind you guys, if you haven't yet, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe because we have a ton of good stuff on there. 50 or 60 dead turkeys, 30 or 40 big dead bucks, mule deer hunt, a bear hunt, an elk hunt coming soon. And we've got a lot of stuff, and we take a lot of pride and a lot of time to put it together and to go out and not just shoot stuff to fill up episodes. We feel like if you look at our bucks that we've killed across the board, we're proud of every one of them and happy to have shot them. So we think that you'll think the same if you go and visit that. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. You ready?
I'm so ready. This is gonna be a good one. So hold on to your seats. I'm ready for it. Yeah, buddy.
The topic. Happy November 16th, by the way, everybody. Hopefully you guys got a buck on the ground. So we're recording this on November 9th. So far we have 5 bucks on the ground, which is a good year for us. And we still got gun season way out in front of us. So that total should hopefully go up and keep on putting them down. So we wish you good luck if you're out there hunting and busting your butt and struggling your ass through the hot heat wave that we've had here, hit the Midwest just like we are. So keep going out there, keep grinding it out, and I promise that eventually something good will happen to you. So we've already kind of explained the Huntroversy, but for the new listeners, do you want to explain the Huntroversy in a little more in depth and just a couple of your favorite ones that we've done in the past?
Yeah. So the Huntroversy was really the home of this podcast. When Grant and I started talking about creating one or a Huntcast, what can we do that would be entertaining, engaging,
unique,
exactly. And that is the Huntroversy. So as Grant said before, the Huntroversy or a controversial topic is a topic within the hunting community or the outdoors that doesn't necessarily have a right or a wrong answer, but probably does have strong opinions and feelings towards it. So what isn't more entertaining than controversy, right? And so yeah, this may get you fired up, and sometimes we're very strongly opinionated by it. An example being the one that we did previously was crossbows and cell cams. 2 really hot topics, especially in the Midwest. Everybody has the right to their opinions, including ourselves, and I hope we didn't rub anybody the wrong way at all. We totally encourage any legal harvest, any means of animals, which way you hunt them. We obviously have preferences and ways that we think that are the way that we want to do it, and vice versa, and that is kind of rounding up to this one, which is the trophy pictures of animals. What we're going to dive into is this the right thing to do? Is there a line that's crossed where maybe you take too many of them, or maybe you boast too much with it? There's a lot of different ways that we can go about this. I think for the most part, taking pictures of your harvest is a good thing, but then there's also animosity that comes with trophy photos or not necessarily just your tried and true snap a phone so I can send it home to my buddies or my parents, but really kind of diving into the art of wildlife photography or outdoor imagery, and then taking it in other places. And just to rattle off a couple ones that we've done in the past, scoring your deer has been one that we've done in the past. That was a hot topic. Baiting deer has been one that we've done in the past. That was another hot topic. We've had taxidermy multiple times. We discussed that about is it the right, the wrong, or essentially mounting your deer or an animal if you shoot it. Should you automatically put it on the wall? Is there a line there? But we've covered many topics, and we've still got a ton to go through. But again, we're going to be covering trophy pictures based in the hunting industry, and yes, specifically going to be whitetails because it's the bread and butter.
Season.
It's the whitetail season, and we'll go from there. But on a different note, really quick, just going to side tangent here. We still have your buck to cover, which is a really cool story, K2, and we decoyed that deer in. Crazy information for the listeners. Same exact stand you killed Teeter out of last year. Same exact decoy placement you killed Teeter out of last year. And within 2 days on the calendar, exactly, of when you killed Teeter. Almost the same exact time, very similar shot, same farm. So it's pretty wild that literally that worked perfectly. Two completely different deer.
But they look the same, though, don't they?
They're very similar, too.
Big, tall 8, kicker off the back left G2.
Yeah, so
it's kind of weird.
It's wildly coincidental, but either the way, I don't care. And then the other cool thing is that this morning, my wife Logan and her best friend Allie have been hunting together during their rutcation. And as many of you know, it's been warm, it's been tough, and success favors are prepared because during this rutcation, I feel like even though the deer are moving and bucks are moving, you're not seeing or having the opportunities that you usually would. Allie this morning shot a gorgeous buck with her bow at 29 yards. Logan filmed it all, and we're super pumped for them to be able to get that done. Now, heading back to the controversy, Mr. Putnam, lead the charge.
Okay, so like he said, our next 2 podcasts will be the story of K2, the buck that we killed about a week ago, and the buck that Logan and Allie killed. So they'll be in here later today talking about that story with us. But I want to open up with an article that I read recently pertaining to this. So I always try to do my best to prepare myself to lay out my opinion and to phrase my opinion in a way that I have grounds for doing so. I try not to fly off the tangent or off the handle and try to be really rational about the things that I say and things of that nature. So I wanted to read this article. So if you guys are from the Northwest Illinois area, the Quad City area is kind of by our biggest chamber of commerce and kind of the area in which most people work or the economy is based around. It's the Quad City area in Northwest Illinois. There's a community about 20 minutes to the east of the Quad Cities. It's called Geneseo. This article is written by a person that moved from Long Island to New York to Geneseo, Illinois. I found it, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'm not going to name the author's name, but it says, attending Geneseo after growing up on Long Island has taught me a lot about the major differences between suburban and rural living and lifestyles. I find one of them more striking differences to be how common hunting is for people that live in rural areas. Many of my peers hunt for food as well for sport, and they often begin doing so at a very young age. I've come to learn this not through conversation, but by rather their social media posts. All too many hunters post pictures of themselves posing happily with their dead prey. They smile when holding up their lifeless deer by the antlers, while others may post a group of dead fowl lined up in the back of their pickup truck. These quote-unquote trophy shots aren't made with remorse, but with pride. At the surface, I find the post utterly disrespectful. Any sane person wouldn't want to post pictures of dead human beings, and they certainly wouldn't want mocking poses with their corpse. So, what makes doing so with an animal any more acceptable? Upon further analysis, I find the immense pride that hunters get from their hobby alarming. We all have the right to our own opinions on hunting, and it is carried out legally and ethically, I suppose. I can respect anyone's decision to hunt. However, when one becomes emotionally invested in hunting and can't help but smile by looking down at their casualties, I think they should reevaluate what they're hunting and their unethical motives. Now, I wanted to bring that up because one of the underpinnings of this argument, right,
is they work for PETA.
Oh, not necessarily that. But the point I'm trying to make here is one of the delicate parts that I feel like people forget, and this is more in bullet point 2. So we've got 3 huge bullet points to discuss tonight. Number 1, I want to shout out all the people that suggested a question, because most of these controversies that we do are requested by friends of ours or people that we're close with, that follow us, right? So person number 1, Pete Gentry. We're going to get into his question, which was, how many trophy photos is too many? By the way, Pete, congratulations on your hammer of a New Mexico elk you just killed. You the man. I'll talk to you later tonight. Number 2, Wayne Gadley. the ethics of photos after the harvest. Specifically, selfies, posing with deer, respect versus disrespect. And person number 3, a coworker of mine in the Moline School District, Jason Vito. If you're going to take trophy pictures, how do you position the animal? Head down, head up, turned, etc. So getting into Wayne's point, number 2, the ethics of the harvest, I feel like there's some underpinnings there coupled with this article that I kind of think are interesting. Number 1, I think it's important when you're talking about the respect of the photo that we pay attention and remember the fact that some people, I won't even say most, because most of the people that I follow on Facebook, Instagram, etc., are hunters, right? Same with you.
Yep.
Same with most hunters, right? It's a commonality. But there are some people that don't, right? So I do feel like
don't hunt or don't take trophy photos.
That don't hunt, right? There's people that we're friends with on Facebook that don't hunt. Yeah. So I do feel like there's an element there that like it should be respectful, I think. So not just for the animal, but for many reasons. But that's kind of the reason why I wanted to read that. It's because I feel like when you're taking a trophy picture or any picture with a dead animal, like that's a big deal. You took something's life, right? It should be done in a pretty respectful manner, I feel like.
But not to interject, I think it's important to obviously note that article was written by somebody who doesn't hunt and it doesn't agree with hunting. They can say that they were all well and fine with the sport of hunting, but they're not, because here's why. Here's why. And we'll get into Wayne Gadley's point, because I think that is a very, very good point to be made. But 99% of the pictures you see floating around on the internet are with people who have, they're like you said, and like this article wrote, they're excited, they're happy, they feel pride, they've triumphed over all the adversaries that are out there. You've got Mother Nature, other hunters. There's so many factors that go into being
tons.
Yeah, to harvesting.
It's like winning a Powerball.
Yeah, and so
a lot of factors.
So there should be a lot of pride in that, and I feel like that. Like I said, 99% of the photos out there are done respectfully, and especially if you start tapping into, I think, Pete Gentry's question, which we're going to cover that too, about how many pictures you take and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. The concept of taking a photo of your trophy, of your bounty, of your harvest, is to preserve that moment and that memory, right? And I think that's what this author is failing to see. Also, what she's failing to think about, or him or her, whoever, I don't care. But let's rewind back down to like the Spartan age, the Viking age. They didn't have photos there, but there's a reason why the kings of the Vikings sat on their throne of skulls from the other tribes
that they killed.
Yes, I mean, come on, that's their modern day bounty, and to think that we have evolved from that, yes, we have. We don't go over to Mexico and pillage their land and take it. No, but this is something that humans have done forever. A, hunting, and B, like preserving the harvest, right? And to say that they've never done it with humans is incorrect. Absolutely. Like literally, if you go to Egypt, there are trophy rooms of human remains, right, where they've conquered, like you said, these kings and lords and so on and so forth. I mean, that's a fact. If you go back to the warring days of Indians, like, do you not remember when they scalped people? Like, those were their trophies, right? Yeah. They didn't have pictures, so they just took your forehead and they carried it around as like, I'm a big macho man. So fast forward to the modern era, we do have photos. I think that is absolutely, utterly okay, and I'm an advocate of taking pictures. I think just like in major league sports all the way down to T-ball, if you get a trophy, whether you're an MVP or you win the series or you win the World Series or the Cup or whatever, how many thousands of photos are taken with that trophy or that medal or that ribbon? Millions. That is the same thing with hunting, that your harvest is your trophy, as synonymly, it is metaphorically the trophy, and pun intended, right? I mean, so that's the same exact thing. You've worked so hard to get yourself into position, or to manage your farm, or to get that lottery so you can get the blind that you've always wanted on the river, to be able to limit out every time you go out with your friends. Like, that's the point, and it should be happy, because winning feels good. Being successful feels good, and you should smile.
It does, and there's a big element of pride in there. But I think the thing that most people fail to understand and remember, I think, in my opinion, when they're taking a trophy photo that's like borderline disrespectful, which we'll get into in a little bit. I think that most people fail to remember that 97% of Americans don't hunt. 97% of Americans don't really understand. And by just looking at a photo, I don't think a photo does tell a story. Don't get me wrong. I think it does. But I think that there are such a small, minute fraction of people that look into the hunting community, or even hunters themselves. You know, if somebody's, you know, typically when a quote unquote trophy picture is taken with a buck, I mean, usually it's number one, a buck, and usually number two, it's got fair to decent sized to big to really scary big antlers on it, you know? So it's kind of like widely debated, and I just don't feel like a picture can paint enough of a story. And lots of these people, they're scrolling through, they're seeing these dead animals, they're not really thinking about the context in which the picture's been taken, and they don't really know the person that's taking the picture on a personal level, to the point where, like, they know that for every single weekend for the last 9 months what you and I were doing. They weren't following us around when we were planting our plots, hanging our stands, hanging our cams, building our blinds from scratch in your garage when it's 100 degrees out, or, you know, talking to each other about what strategy we're going to use and when we're going to use it. They can't see behind the curtain.
No, and just like I don't recognize with a guy that's built a car from scratch that goes and races a quarter mile in less than, I don't know, 5 seconds, if that's even a good number, right? Like I don't understand the process of putting that together.
Yeah, me neither.
Inversely here, and for the same reason that I think it is absolutely moronic to take a picture of you with a trophy from your gaming convention, is probably the same reason why they think it's absolutely moronic that we take pictures with dead animals. I mean,
yeah.
In today's world, especially with social media, people live in their own echo chamber of what they want to see. I mean, literally, there are algorithms beyond our comprehension that make sure you see only what you want. Why? Yep. Because what you see generates sales, and sales generates ads, and ads generates money, and it's a vicious cycle. Like, there's a reason why I don't see anything about cars or about video games or about some other off-the-wall hobby that's out there, like or art. I see stuff that I'm interested in.
Gun scopes, deer technology, deer gear, all
hunting,
the things that you're
fishing,
passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, diving into the article, I think it's very irrelevant because him or her has no context of writing about it because they've never been there and been in their place. Congratulations, you grew up in what you suspect to be rural, which Geneseo is rural, but not very small. It's not Taylor Ridge tiny. It's not Sherrard tiny, you know? I mean, it is what it is.
For all intents and purposes, though, compared to the national average size town, Geneseo would be a small town.
Sure.
Compared to the national average.
Gravitating away from that, I'm done focusing on the article. I think we should start diving into the questions, starting with Pete Gentry's and the number of one. And I would like to kind of start it off there and say that I'm not sure if his question is how many should you take personally or how many should you post personally, because what we do is very different.
We should tackle both.
Yeah, so what we do is very different from a post-harvest standpoint than somebody that's, I don't want to say normal, just a regular guy, right? Like before we started this media company, we would take, I don't know, a dozen pictures to try to make it look as best as we can so that we can have it, you know, and period, the end. Like we didn't care about any other artsy shots. We didn't care about, you know, changing our hats out or doing some of the stuff that we need to do as part of our job, quote unquote, with the companies that we work with. So as somebody that's never been into the outdoor industry, if you want to call it that, right? I mean, part of your job is to give content to some of the partners that you work with, from small to big, any scale in between. And I mean, that's just what you're supposed to do, is deliver that. So from somebody looking outside and they see, you know, like Matt, New Archery Products just posted a picture of Matt holding up the Killzone Broadhead with a new archery hat on with Chubs. Awesome. We love doing that. We love seeing that, because what have we done? We've proved that we trust their product, that the product works, and we're happy to advocate it, right? That's our job as brand ambassadors, if you want to call us, of any company that we work with.
I think we're a little bit different than brand ambassadors on most levels of most companies. I mean,
yeah. I'm just talking about as partners of companies, right?
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
It's more of a paid thing. It's not like go.
And who cares? Like I said, I don't care if you're entry level pro staff or you're kissing cousins with the owner by now. You know, like it's 6 1 half a dozen. It's just part of what we need to do to fulfill our requirements to be able to make sure that this is a mutualistic relationship. And somebody that doesn't have that, I could see how they're like, dude,
This
you
is
literally
ridiculous.
took the same picture 12 times. You changed hats and held up something different, right? But it's part of the process. Same thing with NASCAR drivers. Same thing with any huge sports dude that you see holding up a Nike shoe or an Under Armour hat or a Louisville Slugger bat or any of the et cetera, right? I mean, it's just part of the process. And then from another standpoint, like people that are very foreign to it, and our family has gotten conditioned to what we do, specifically like the next step out. Our wives know, right? They live, eat, and breathe it. But our in-laws and our next step off relatives kind of have seen that, okay, well, after we harvest, we tag the animal, everything's good. Well, now we got to get some mojo for what we do as a content creation company and get some of those shots and make sure that we get some artsy stuff that we're happy to put into our portfolio and show off. I think that it's both being prideful of what we can do behind a camera and behind a computer screen, but also, again, taking it a little bit further to respect that animal, because some of the people that won't be able to see it in person or touch it in person, or don't make it a launch party to see just how massive Geronimo was, or how tall Lucky was, or how incredibly crazy that squiggly 16-inch drop tine of was. That's why we take some of those pictures, to emphasize it, to show it off for the other people that might stumble upon it or that follow us deeply. So I'm long-winded on that. I'd love to hear anything else you have to say. But I think until you're in a position of a partner, ambassador, pro staff, content creator, digital artist, any of the above, I would totally understand how it's hard to recognize why, dude, you just took pictures for 2 hours with that deer.
I feel like a lot of people, and there are, there's these new hate pages, I would call them a hate page, popping up. There's 3 or 4 noteworthy ones. I'm not even going to give them credit by saying their name on here, but there's 3 or 4 of them that absolutely, and some of their posts, I will say, some of their posts go after bullshit in the hunting industry, and I support that. But there are other things that, like what you just said, like lots of people, if you took it out of context, you could go back through our digital archives forever, and you could see that we take about, somewhere in between 20 and 40 pictures with the bucks that we kill, if not upwards of 60, 70. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason being, like you said, we have a job to do. Like it's a job. We're proving that we executed a deed with this product, and we're proud to support that company and that product. So from that aspect, that is necessary. From the other aspect, we're trying to show off and pay respect to all aspects of the animal that we get. So I feel like that is another reason that we take trophy photos. The end user of these photos, like I said, we probably only post 3 or 4 times a picture of that animal over the lifetime of the picture and the sequence of pictures and the quote-unquote photo shoot that we do. So the other 20, 30 photos that we take, they're just going out to people that we work with. So Pete's question about how many is too many, I think between 8 and 10, 8 and 12 is just fine. If you don't have any reason to do the things that we're doing, I don't understand why you couldn't get a good picture. And if you got a good picture that you're content with, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, grab a buddy, get a phone picture if you want to, get a picture with a camera. I mean, one of the main reasons I feel like we kind of circumvented around the first few questions we had here, but I think, like you said, the reason that we take our time when we're taking trophy pictures is just to pay respect to the animal. And like many of these pictures that we take are framed in our houses, and we're really proud of them, and they're beautiful pictures. Like I'm proud of them. I'm not only proud of them for the aspect of like, yeah, we went and got it done, but also like, man, look at this picture. Like this is great. Look at that color. Like I'm proud of it. Mm-hmm. So how many trophy shots is too many? I think
there's not an answer.
There's not really an answer to that. But if you're, doing something like what we're doing and you have a media tie to the outdoor world, I think of, take care of your people that you're working with and then get some pictures for you.
So I think there's another side tangent to Pete's question here, and we have done it, and we've done it regularly, especially if we shoot a deer in the evening. Most times, often than not, weather permitting, conditions permitting, we'll dress the deer, and we will either hang them outside so they stay cool, or pack them with ice, or et cetera. And then that following morning, we'll go back and we'll take pictures that we see fit and adequate. And I could see where some people really don't understand it and wouldn't agree with it unless they understood, like, hey, we first and foremost are outdoorsmen. Not hunters, not killers, we're outdoorsmen. We respect the game we hunt, and we, pridefully process 100% of the game. Everything that we shoot, from hogs to antelope, from deer to elk. I mean, turkeys, fish, you name it, we kill it. Unless it's a coyote or a coon, we're going to eat it. And so we're not going to just hang it up and let it spoil. When it was warm this last week, we took pictures of K2. When it was warm, we took them that night and immediately brought them home, iced them down, and we processed them the next day. We didn't try to save them for the next morning to take pictures, but we had the luxury that we had great lighting and we took care of him. So I think that could be something that some people just are like, are you just
get misconstrued?
Yeah. Are you just going to hang them up and let it go to waste? No, not, absolutely not at all.
I have an add-on to that, and the add-on is if you're wired into the outdoor industry and kind of the pulse and the big things that have happened this year in 2020, which there's been a couple of them. At the beginning of the year, you'll recall that Greg Ritz, and it's beautiful that you brought up that point that we were just talking about, but Greg Ritz got called in to some kind of DNR hearing for wanton waste charges. Basically, what that is you're cutting off the head of a trophy animal, or you're basically letting the meat spoil. You're tagging it, but you're not doing your justice in order to preserve it and to use the meat. It's just it is just what it sounds like. It's wasting the animal. It's wasting the harvest in terms of the food that it can provide. Now, I feel like lots of people gave him a lot of shit and a lot of hate, as if he went out and just left it overnight in the woods, and maybe he did. I don't know the inner workings of the argument, but like I said, I just want to make sure that everybody that's listening right now, to be clear, there have been many deer that we have shot that we let them hang overnight when the temperatures allow, or we ice them down overnight when the temperatures allow, or we prop them up outside overnight when the temperatures allow. And then in the morning, we'll go and take our really good pictures because, number one, we want them, and it's important to us.
And number two, it's again, like you said, you have to look at what we do as a job. Dude, we got full-time jobs. Nobody is here trying to beat our chests and say that we are outdoor celebrities. Now we are real men, real women. They just love hunting and love sharing it with people. And I want to say this too, as self-processors, we prefer to let our deer hang about 12 to 24 hours before we get into it. Regardless, whether it's a doe, a buck, or anything. And the reason being is, again, it's all contingent on conditions. We know it. We're not inept to meat spoilage and temperatures. Mm-hmm. But if you guys have ever tried to process a deer that you just killed,
is freshly dead,
the meat is a lot bloodier. So vacuum packaging is a little bit harder. And also the meat just hasn't quite firmed up yet. So the way that we do it, we grind a lot of it. We separate the muscle groups. We cut steaks out of it. When that meat has an opportunity to firm up and you get a chance to drain that blood out of it too, kind of both of those things, it's just a lot easier to work with. Me working on the hindquarters and you working on the cutting table, when it's got just a little bit more elasticity, I want to say, or maybe
it's harder to handle.
It's harder to handle.
It's
but even
it's greasy. It's got the silver skin hasn't yet adhered to the meat, and it's slimy.
Yeah.
If you've ever taken a backstrap or an inner loin out of a deer
freshly,
immediately, you'll know what we're talking about. It's just the surface of it is slimy. It is harder to work with. It does not stay in a vacuum seal as well.
So anyway, besides the point. So yeah, I mean, anybody that does have a issue that would think that, man, you guys are, all you care about is just the pictures, I hope you realize, and we show it off in our episodes, we talk about it all the time. LEM, if you want to sponsor us, boys and girls, bring it on.
We've processed deer since I was 14. We haven't taken a deer to a locker, and we've killed fucking 80 of them.
So anyway, moving on to the next. I think we covered Pete's question really well. And this next one is going to be really good. Wayne's question.
This next one is the edgy one. And this next one, again, our buddy Wayne Gadley, a member of the Last Breath Inner Circle. If you're not a member of the Inner Circle, you should hop in there. It's just a really good, positive community. It's a
party, man.
It is. We don't spew a lot of hate and talk a lot of shit. We just like supporting one another and lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. Kind of like our friends at the Whitetail Legacy podcast have said a million times, and that's the reason why we're rooting for them. So, Wayne Gadley, he wanted to know the ethics of photos after a harvest. Specifically, as though you guys probably have a good pulse on this, and you've been seeing it come up more and more and more and more. I myself have seen it come up a few times in my feed. It's not very often. I will say that 9 out of 10 harvest photos are just the standard grip and grin in one angle or another, whether it be behind the animal, to the side of the animal, usually holding the rack up, or a hand over the animal's shoulder kind of thing. With your weapon in front. That's the majority of the things I see. But every once in a while I'll see one with a picture of a dead deer, like with his eyes, like, you know, how a dead deer looks, glazed over a little bit, with a guy like laying next to it on the ground, take a selfie. Or I'll notice like some, like a fashion model, like Playboy spread, like the hot Playboy spreads from the 80s with the girl's ass popping out and her legs crossed in the background when she's laying on her chest, like next to the deer. Now we're talking about that. And the ethics of photos and what types of photos, because your grip and grin, that's what 99% of people are going to do. And I truly think that the people taking like selfies and that nature, let's just go ahead and go for it. Do you think that's respectful? Do you think it's not? I mean,
I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I do think they're funny. Like, I chuckle and I know most people do too. I know everybody knows kind of what we're talking about, that spoof of a photo with your harvest, right?
Yep.
I'll be honest, do I think it's disrespectful? Yes, I think it can be. But again, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I do think that they're funny. I don't think it's what we would do. I don't know if it's right or wrong. But I get it, right? You know, and that's where I think the guy's article that talks about it, I could see how they could really take that kind of out of context to where you're making a satire out of the harvest rather than, you know, the prideful meaning there. That gives off a much different tone than the triumph and the pride and the hard work. I want to talk about really quick, and we're going to go right back into this. I think part of the respect that comes with the photo is the composition of it. And I think as a whole, a lot of outdoorsmen have really gotten a lot better at this throughout the last, 10 years even, because I do think that at one point in time, it was very traditional to snap the picture of the deer, you know, blood's everywhere, tongue's hanging out, you know, you maybe have even field dressed it already. It's in the back of the truck. You're standing over it and you're kind of like, you got bloody hands. You just totally look like a savage, right? Or it's strapped to the car trunk and, you know, we never got a picture. Quick, stand next to it, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's been a lot of that go to the wayside as people have
been a big shift.
Even with phone pictures, you know? So I think that there is a little bit of respect there, you know, and even my hunter education course, I'm talking when I was 12 years old with my dad, the guy giving on the course, he's like, hey, dads, you know, if you get a chance, just grab an old towel, wipe a little bit of blood off, you know, try to prop it up so you don't see the guts or, you know. And he even said, he's like, we want to make sure we give hunting a good image. And I think that's part of the trophy pictures that you see floating around. It's not that we're trying to pretty them up or prop them up, but it's, you know, if it's clean, it looks presentable, I think it looks good. And that's part of the respect thing. Getting back into what you're talking about, kind of the animation, the satire.
The spoofy pictures, they can be misconstrued big time.
What do you think?
It's a hard one. I think that taking something's life is very serious. I think most hunters do. I think that walking down the hallway of the point that you just made, I've got another good hunting celebrity, which I think has a really good pulse on this. He's one of my favorite outdoor content creators, and he actually entered in a film and was a finalist of the Badlands Film Festival for the last 2 years, as were we, and we got to congratulate him on his film, which took second, this particular film I'm talking about that year, and it's called Influencers, and I'm talking about Jason Matzinger. Again, one of my favorite people. If you guys haven't ever watched his show, it's called Into High Country. It's all over YouTube, so amazing Western hunter, phenomenal
hunter,
guy.
Period.
Phenomenal guy, like just seems to be a great ambassador to the sport in every way you could look at it, right? One of the people that I really respect and a definite role model of mine. Now, he made this film called Influencers, and the main point of the film was that anybody that's going to go out and hunt has a responsibility to the hunting community because it is so small. Just think of the fact that 97% of Americans do not hunt. They do not understand this lifestyle, this culture that we have here. And his point was, if you're going to make a post about hunting, if you're going to take a picture of hunting or do something while hunting, anything in camouflage, etc., that it had better be respectful because you are representing us as a whole. And from that lens, I don't like the selfies. I don't like the spoofy pictures. But I will say to your buddies, there's a big difference between the picture and its purpose and who it's for. Because if I take a picture like a funny picture and send it to you and Matt and Jesse, I don't view that as a picture like I'm sharing that with my closest friends. And that picture is not meant for everybody. That's why I just sent it privately to you. So I think that I'm okay with the spoofy pictures. I just think it rides the line.
It does.
I think it rides the line when it gets out to the masses.
But
and you're putting that out to the masses, you know?
It's going to. And that's,
I don't know.
Like I said, I don't want to be a hypocrite just because I don't ever see myself taking them. But when they come across the feed, you smile, you chuckle, and then maybe you process it. I mean, it's like most memes that you see. Some of those things are just wrong. They're bad. They shouldn't be out there, but they're funny. You know, like...
Yeah, like everybody's got that friend that you're like, our friend Andrew is that friend for me, and he sends me stupid GIFs and memes, and they are so funny and so raunchy
but
and so nasty that I don't open them up in my workplace because... I'm like, yep, this one came from Andrew. I'm waiting till I get in the car and I'm not using Moline School District Wi-Fi to open it because I am not opening this on school grounds.
Yep.
You know, because it's so bad. But not saying that hunting photos like selfies and stuff like that are bad, but I also think that a couple people, like we brought up Justin Czar earlier.
God, I love that guy. He's hilarious.
He is a smart dude. I believe.
Super punny.
Very punny, very witty, very sarcastic, super intelligent guy in my opinion. And I think some of the people that are posting selfies and things like that are doing it just because they're so fucking tired of hearing bullshit from people. I'll give you an example. So I think the reason bowhunting.com, like Bowhunter Die, they're like on season 8 of I don't even know.
Lots.
I think it's above 15 at this point, and we've got a lot of good friends that do that, like Clint Fawcett's in there, Tyler Rector, who's really good friends with Matt, does that, and the bowhunting.com guys, they were like the original people to hit the digital space, like the first ones on the cutting edge of let's make a seasonal episodes and dump them online.
Only online.
Online. And they rode that thing, and that's still what they're doing, and they're still crushing it. And they're still crushing big whitetails, and they were the pioneers of that space, which is why they're so freaking successful. And lots of people hated on them because they're like, well, blah, 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 and like to talk a lot of shit just because it's online. And before online hunting videos, hate to break it to you guys, but you can't comment on an outdoor channel
DVD.
video. You can't be like, fuck you, Mark Drury, fuck you, Tiffin Lee. Like when you buy a Lee and Tiff DVD from 1995, you can't do that. But they open the door to the digital realm, and the digital realm means it's the wild, wild west of commenting and saying whatever you want to, because now everybody's a keyboard warrior, and there's no real person behind the screen that you're typing at. And so I think their way to galvanize and be like, well, fuck you, all the haters, I'm going to piss you off more. And I see Justin Czar, like, the funniest one I saw him post last year was a picture, like, of him thinking in his stand with a crossbow, like, and the meme was, might go shoot a big buck with a crossbow, gonna piss the fuck out of the bow hunters. Bow hunters are gonna be pissed, gonna smile at it and post pics later. Have a good day. Like, he does stuff like that all the time. And I think it's just because he's fucking sick of hunters being little bastards to him, I guess, which I don't blame him. But
yeah. But anywho, getting back to the topic there, Chachi. In summary, Wayne, that's a phenomenal point. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I do not think that it's something that everybody should try to do or want to do. The few folks that go out there and do it, yes, I'm going to laugh. I think it's funny. But in the end, I think it's just keep it lighthearted. You know, if that's what you make a tradition out of, well, you might be pushing some stuff. And if you catch some shit for it, well, actions have consequences, right? Understand what you're doing and be okay with it. And if you catch a little crap, well, you poke a tiger, you get bit. So I think we can move on from this topic to say that, is it definitely wrong? It's hard to just put our thumb on the table and say, yes, it's wrong.
I think it's circumstantial, but I
do think that there is opportunity to catch some guff, and I think there's opportunity for people to call it disrespectful, and you got to understand that if you're going to take those types of pictures.
If you're going to take an edgy picture, be prepared to receive edginess, I suppose, right?
Yeah, easy. So,
sure.
Last one.
Okay, so you've taken your pictures, or you're getting ready to take the pictures. How should you do it? So, Jason Vito, are you a head up or head down kind of guy, nose on the ground, etc.? I mean, we've taken a couple nose on the ground pictures, and I think I think it's totally up to the rack of the deer. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're paying respect to the deer, you're paying respect to the animal. But if it's a buck, let's be honest, you're trying to make the rack look
as big
good,
as you can,
right?
Yeah.
You're trying
silhouette
to
it.
You're trying to have everybody that's seeing your picture know, like, this is a mainframe 10 with double split G2s, and I hate, like I said, I don't want the point that I just made to come around as sounding like super fucking cringy or anything, but like, if you're taking a trophy picture, you're showing off the animal, right? So if you've got a base, like a big 10 pointer, like let's call it a 150 class 10 with double split back G2s, the trophy picture that doesn't show off his double split back G2s is a head-on picture where you cannot see anything but a wall of tines that is his fours, 3s, and 2s. And if they're just stacked together and there's no pivot to that, then people could be like, well, this dude just shot an 8-pointer. Well, this is the biggest 6-point on earth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to pivot the head. And if it's a really tall deer or a really wide deer, you know, there's certain ways to accent and show that off. My particular one that I'm going to bring an example of is like Josh. So the buck that you killed 2 years ago with a bow, right? His biggest characteristic, his two coolest characteristics are he's wide and he's pretty heavy. And so we took a nose down picture, and I think that accents being wide and heavy really well, because if your nose is down, then you're seeing the inside spread.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I think that a taller deer, if you can raise him up and silhouette him on the backdrop and show him in comparison to your torso, then it will look the best.
Yep.
You know, because it will show off like, hey, this deer is right next to my torso. I'm a grown human man. Like, this got some long freaking tines, you know, and things of that nature. So what do you think about that? If you're in the position to take a trophy photo, are you a head down or head up guy? How much you turn it, and where should you sit? I know it's so circumstantial, the question, but what do you think is a baseline? Like, so you want to take a good trophy picture, what do you do? The question is shift away from the controversy, and it's now, let's take the best trophy picture we can. What things do we take into account? Go ahead.
So I think I'll start right with the basics, and this kind of dives into the respect thing. But first and foremost, you know, and this is being honest, usually we remove the tongue. We don't want it hanging or flopping around. It just doesn't look good. And if there's excessive blood on the mouth or the face or the antlers from the shot or the kill, we clean it up. You know, starting point right there. Boom. We want to make sure that he looks nice. You know, it doesn't look like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Next, you know, we work on positioning him so his legs are underneath him. We don't really do the whole four-leg stiff kicked out. You know, we try to prop him up, really show off the size, the maturity of the animal.
Yep.
And then from there, depending on his assets.
I want to pause you really quick. So for people trying to do this and emulate this, what we do if it's assumably freshly dead, you know, and you found the animal when they're not rigor mortis and stiff as hell, we take the front joint and we will pin the front half of the front legs back and tuck it up underneath the deer if we can. Keep going.
And same thing with the back legs. I mean, look at the picture of Grant's K2 buck. Spot on exactly what we did. And again, if it's freshly harvested, we won't dress him yet. It allows us to, again, show off the size and maturity of the animal. And then moving on from there. So we've cleaned him up. We've got him propped up. depending on the tops, the rack is going to be which side is facing the camera, which side's the offside. If he has any type of kickers or splits or any unique characteristics, like in Matt's case, a drop tine, we're going to want that to be facing the camera. We don't want it to be
focal point of the picture.
Yeah, just like if you were to mount a deer, when you're looking at mounting your deer, which side would you want them looking, left or do you want them looking right? Well, you want that cool thing to be facing the room. So same thing with the deer that we position them. And then from there, lighting is key. We want to make sure that it's shaded or it's cloudy or it's first light or last light. We don't want it to be harsh. We don't want it to be blown out. We want it to be stark. And then from there, I think the last big thing is we do try to shoot with either the background, if you can't get a skyline like on a field edge or on a rolling hill, you want to make sure that the background is as far away as possible to create separation, which allows you to show off yourself and the deer on the rack more because it's sharper. And if you can, shoot from a lower angle to get those antlers up in the sky. I think one of the best companies out there that does like time and time again a great job at this is Sandy Hills Hunting Company. We're gonna plug those guys again for free 99. But if you go to their Instagram and you scroll through their trophy photos, they do a phenomenal job, and it's because Neil Emick and Jeremy Fiskus over there, they are so on point with that, with making sure that it really shows off the animal, the quality of what they're doing. And you'll notice just how they have those antelope and those elk and those mule deer propped up. It really it silhouettes it. So when you see the picture, bam, it's in your face. You don't have to try to like catch the kicker or catch the split when it's mixed into the weeds or the timber or something. I mean, it just allows it to do a good job. I will say this. I found out an interesting thing, though. When you shoot something as big as an elk, you don't move the fucker. You where he dies is where you take pictures.
Yeah.
So with deer, be happy that you can drag him a little ways or put him in the truck and take him down to the waterfall or whatever you're gonna do. But when you shoot an elk, a moose, a caribou, like wherever he keels over is what you're working with.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you guys have ever seen any of our pictures, so I'll go through a couple of examples about what Garrett's talking about in terms of the background. So I think the darkest horned deer that Garrett's ever killed, a buck by the name of Slick, his antlers, even the way he finishes, not just his bases around where he like scrapes cedars, etc. It's dark, and it's dark the whole way. It's like a mocha colored rack, right? We took that deer to a position where we were in like some lighter colored grass. Like if you're trying to do reverence and show off the deer as best as you can, you're going to want to create a stark separation between the antlers and the background. And like Garrett said, field edges are pretty good spots to do that if you can create some separation and not just right on the edge. Hills are a great spot to do that and pin them up against the skyline. And just areas where the background is not so close to the deer that you can just concentrate on the deer and the hunter themselves. So that kind of brings us to the end of, how to, I guess, take the best trophy photo, head down, head up. I think it's all, like we said, kind of circumstantial. I think it's based best upon the deer. I think high and tight deer look really, really good with like a tighter in shot. I think that really wide deer look really well when you can create some separation with the hunter's body and kind of show off how wide they are. So, and obviously like those little extra points or cheater points, stickers, kickers, drop tines, stuff like that, it works the best when you can accentuate them and pivot the head and kind of show all that stuff off. So are you kind of content with the way that we covered the third point there?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Sure. So, that kind of brings us to the end of the controversy then. Got a couple would you rathers then for you.
I have one for you.
I get to go first. Number one, would you rather take 10 phone pictures or one with a camera?
One with a camera.
Why?
Just because I know what cameras are capable of. And when I say camera, I mean like one of our DSLRs, mirrorless, fancy, dancy cameras. Phone pictures are great. And dude, you can take some really nice ones. Mm-hmm. But when, as you said earlier in the podcast, a lot of times we like to frame them or at least print them. We have several albums, right? That we have, like I said, our portfolio of works. And I like preserving that memory. We have tons of canvases or posters that we blow up or et cetera. And I know what we can do with the camera. That's why.
Sure. Head down or head up as a general rule? You got to pick one.
General rule, head down.
Head down.
Like nose down.
Nose down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the head, right? I mean, as a general rule, yeah.
All right. That's the two I have for you. What do you have for me?
So this is one I already asked you, so it's kind of cheating, but I think it'd be interesting for the listeners to wonder about, and this is totally far-fetched. It's nothing's out there yet that you can do this with, but say your hunting property, whether it's 20 acres or 250 or 500, whatever, right? Would you rather, on your number one hit lister, you have to choose your number one hit lister on opening day of season. Would you rather have a little blue dot that shows exactly his location all season long? Like you follow him to the neighbors, he gets shot, you watch him go down the highway and go home. Like you see everywhere that deer goes, one deer, your number one hit lister, or just within your property lines, have a blue dot where every deer is, but you don't know what they are.
I feel like you could learn so much. And this is my answer. Like I said, I feel like it's cheating a little bit because you already asked me this and I already answered because we talked about this for about 2 hours when we were in the stand the other day. But I would rather see every dot because I feel like the number one hit lister, most whitetail hunters, I mean, unless they're hunting the deer and they're just, very obsessed with killing that particular deer, I feel like most whitetail hunters have what I would like to call a roster or a hit list. Like I know we do.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a numbers, 1 through sometimes 5, 6 deer that we would be really happy to wrap a tag around. So I wouldn't want to confine myself to that one deer. And I do think that knowing all of that information, knowing where every single deer is, would help you figure out
the
so
hot spots,
much
the
information.
areas, travel corridors.
How many dots could you just see alone by themselves where topography changes, i.e. like a hilltop or ridge top that's just one little blue dot that you could be like, I'm pretty sure a buck would be bedded there, or a little group of 3 or 4. They'd be like, okay, does are bedded in the bottom. Like you could learn a lot. I feel like from that information, watching it all season, and I myself am personally not at the place in my hunting career where I'm going to define myself to caring and thinking about one deer. Maybe ask me that question in 2 years from now.
How easy could it be for you if all of a sudden, like the deer, like the biggest one, that we got every year, you're like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you would then evolve to that if you had that ability. But introversely, right? It's like, before you go to your stand, you pull up your Onyx.
And he's 2 miles to the northwest on the neighbors.
And you're like,
well, this sucks. He's not even close.
Or you pull up your hunt stand and you're like, man, I got 4 dots like within 50 yards of my stand. I can't go in there right now.
Right.
I'm gonna bump them. Like I can't.
Sure.
It's crazy.
It's a good question. Really good question. You guys should pipe up. What do you think about this one? Let us know in the comment section below. Would you rather? The question is, have a blue dot or, just any interactive app where you can see your number one hit lister all the time, all year long, everywhere he goes, or only within your property lines, every single deer within the property. What would you go with?
I asked you this because it was a hard one for me, because I do think the hard part is this. Do we hunt for the deer? No. But I think it would make you. It would make you. The thing that would suck, and like I said, the key note here is at the beginning of season you see them. Because even if you have those deer that evaporate during the rut and then come back you'd be able to tell and see the sequence for this deer because he's leaving you would totally figure out his range. And so if that deer didn't get harvested this year, obviously you'd watch him. You'd be able to see his winter range. You'd probably find the sheds, barring that you could shed hunt wherever he wintered. You'd see where he'd summer and all this stuff that would evolve, right? At some point in time, the number one deer on your farm is probably a 4, 5, 6-year-old buck. Mm-hmm. So he's evaded hunters for that long.
Yeah.
And now you have this magical little dot that shows off his every move.
Yeah, right.
So it would be interesting because I do think we would have the opportunity to then hunt the deer, but in context of what you're saying about learning deer movement on your property, do you care? Because if you know this little blue dot that's him is on the north side of your property and you got to access it through the south side, do you care if you bump deer out of there? Because he's not there. You
Right.
might spook some deer, but it's not him.
Yeah.
And then the inverse side is like, man, you would really be able to learn so much about the holding capacity of your property, like you talked about earlier, the bedding areas of your property, and obviously in different times of year, single dots would probably inject that it's a buck versus a doe bedding group. I mean, you have the opportunity to hunt one deer or learn so much about your farm. It's one of the. You know who I'd want to answer this question, and I think I know which one he'd pick. It's Chase Burns. I bet he would do the number 2 all day
knowing
long.
everybody, knowing all the position of every deer.
I wonder what like Matt or Clark would say. Clark's a good one. But anywho, that's my tough would you rather. Usually you come up with the hard ones.
That's a really good one. Man, that's good food for thought. Let us know in the comments, what would you do? 1 dot or all dots? And kind of finishing it up, wrapping it up here, it's deer season still, and it will be for a long time. So keep an eye out for the next Last Breath Live. Hopefully we'll have another buck hunt to share with you guys. Just a reminder, those are not like our polished, fully ready to rock episodes that we'll show at the launch party with all the trail camera pictures and all the history and stuff like that. It's just kind of like live as it happens in the field. So those happen every Wednesday. We got a Throwback Thursday rolling out every Thursday, obviously. And then we're going to be bringing the rest of the public land series down the pipe. So thank you guys again for listening to the Last Breath Huntcast. If you haven't yet, jump into our Facebook group called the Last Breath Inner Circle. A lot of our guys been killing some really big bucks in there lately. So congratulations, everybody in the Inner Circle. I mean, they're dropping some hammers like 180s, 170, like big freaking deer. So congratulations to everybody that's getting it done, and congratulations to everybody that will get it done in the future before this podcast gets released.
2 last things quick here I want to share with all of you guys. First off, if you do shoot a buck and you're in the western Midwest area within the Quad Cities of, I don't know, an hour, 90 minutes, don't forget, we're doing a cool thing with Wayne Tompkins. Tell him the code BFD20, or you can just tell him Last Breath Boy sent you, and you're going to get $50 off your mount and be able to pick it up at our launch party, which means you'll be able to pick up your deer in July.
Yep. 6-month turnaround, guaranteed. Show it off at our launch party and get to pick it up there.
Note, there are 15 slots available, and at this time, there are already 5 taken up. So if you do harvest a deer and you're hem-hawing, make sure you jump on that opportunity, because after gun season, I don't know how many slots will be available. Secondly, cold weather is coming. It is hot. I wore a short sleeve shirt to work today, but we have an incredible discount code with Badlands, and they've got some great cold gear. If you're interested in saving 25% on that gear, make sure you reach out to one of us, either our pages or directly message one of the team, and we'll hook you up with that code. Other than that, thank you for listening. Have a great season. And as always, stay humble, hunt hard, and don't waste it.